Hello and happy Monday. On this Monday, we're going to be talking about customer service. We're going to be talking about Q3 or Q1, depending on when your year starts, and what are the huge concerns around that. And so let's jump right into it. Okay, so let me pull up the first question. And the first question comes from Lee. And Lee says, what's the hidden cost of low effort customer service and how much is it quietly eroding your brand, team morale, and repeat business? Great question, Lee. And you know what I like about this question is that it's not talking about bad customer service. It's talking about low customer service as well as really alluding to it being bad customer service. So for most leaders, most people, they have to admit that low or bad customer service is never really a frontline issue. It is a frontline issue, but it's not just a frontline issue. Let me clarify that, Lee. It's a cultural issue, it's a clarity issue, and it's a consistency issue. So let's break that down, shall we? First, it's an erosion of trust from the inside out. Low effort service isn't just about frustrating the customer. Nobody goes, I'm going to frustrate the customer today. It really is about the frustration that your own people feel, especially if they don't feel cared about. And they're just reflecting what's going on with them, unfortunately. So when high performers start to see sort of sloppy handoff, unclear protocols, or reactive support, they begin to think about it as, why am I putting in so much effort if everyone around me is not putting in any effort? So when we talk about, oh, that's when people quiet quit, what we fail to notice in that is that as an organization, we've quit on them. We've quiet quitted on them. Quiet quitting isn't just about being silent. It's also about putting in less effort. In turn, that becomes low effort, which can turn into bad effort towards your customer. And it's a symptom of a misaligned priorities. If your team is being rewarded for speed, volume, cost cutting above all, then why are you surprised that the quality of their service isn't great, that their empathy is low, that they don't really seem like they care about the service, the product, the brand? Because you've told them speed, volume, and cutting the costs is what is important. So that's what they're doing. So most bad service moments are just your incentive structure. What are you incentivizing within your organization? And the third point I want to make is that it destroys repeat business in invisible ways. We know the visible ways where the customer storms out in a rage, but some invisible ways that happens is that you get the smile of polite, you think, oh, thank you for your time, right? And you never come back. Worse, they don't tell you why they don't come back. There's no survey, there's no complaint, they just quietly walk away. And not just your customer, but your best performers do the same thing. They also quietly walk away. They also go, yeah. And you're busy chalking all of this up to market shifts or seasonal trends. But in reality, the problem here is that you have created a situation that is draining your pipeline being customers, pipeline being actual employees. And I'm going to give you an example, Lee, of something that actually happened to me last week. So, and the reason for this is that I want to show you that even in a bad situation, they're good actors, but those good actors can be equally frustrated and eventually just turn into bad actors. And here's what I mean. I was traveling last week and I had a lot of visits, and so with clients, and so my hotel was 3 minutes from the airport. Here's the thing, I didn't realize I was 3 minutes from the airport. And so I called for a shuttle because the night before I fly, I always double check all my arrangements. And so I was told when you come in, call the hotel, we'll arrange for the shuttle for you. So I did that. And in doing that, the person who answered gave me their name. They did the standard, hello, my name is line. But when I asked for the shuttle, they said, go to B20 and hung up. No, this is how you get the shuttle. This is where you need, this is what the shuttle looks like. No, thank you. You're welcome. Nothing. Okay. So I go and I wait for the shuttle. 45 minutes goes by in the heat, in the Texas heat. 45 minutes goes by and I call, and the response was, oh, he's not there. I'll text him. Click. Okay. An hour, and I've missed a meeting, and I am like hotter than heck because it's Texas and it's humid, and the shuttle driver gets there. Now, the shuttle driver has great customer service. The shuttle driver immediately apologizes. The shuttle driver, we get into the, gets my bags, we get into the shuttle, and profusely apologizes again and explains that he didn't know somebody was waiting, he was at lunch, and the regular shuttle driver is called in sick, and he is the maintenance guy. Okay. So I say, oh, you were at lunch. She says, yeah. I said, well, that's not your fault. You didn't know I was here. I said, if I had known you were at lunch, I would have taken an Uber. And he's like, I'm really sorry. I really didn't know. And I said, that's okay. So he's frustrated because this doesn't meet his standard of customer service. His apologies and his frustration, I could feel, had less to do about me and more to do about his performance, his feeling of he's let the customer down and the quality of the customer service that he expects to provide himself, which I thought was so admirable. But here's the problem. It wasn't his poor customer service, and any other person would have been well within their rights, shall we say, to blame him. When we got there, the young lady at the front desk, who was also the person that answered, no apology whatsoever. And so when she was checking me in, I began to ask questions. And so my first question was, can you explain to me how a 3-minute ride turned into an hour wait? And her response is, I don't know, and continues to check me in. So I say, let me explain it to you. So I recount the story that he told me, and her response was, oh, sorry. Yeah, that's it. The funny thing about that response is, right there, you're signaling to me that you don't give a flying. Okay. But more importantly, the maintenance guy, which I clocked him out of the corner of my eye, was around the corner eavesdropping on this conversation, listening to see what was going to happen. And I clocked him out of the corner of my eye, and he was visibly frustrated by the conversation. So I finished my check-in. And the reason why I didn't ask to speak to the manager is because before she got to me, there was somebody who had walked up to her and asked for the manager, and she had told them the manager was off site. So I realized there was no point in me asking for the manager because there would be no manager on site for me. So when I got to around the corner to where the elevators were to go up to my room, the maintenance guy was grabbing his stuff and also going up the elevator to one of the rooms. So we were in the elevator together. And I said to him, are you okay? And he said, oh, ma'am, I'm fine. Thank you. But clearly not fine. I said, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. And I'm really sorry about what happened at the front desk. And then he got off the elevator. Here's the thing. He's watching that. He's upset about it. Yes, he's saying to me, he's sorry about what happened, but you could feel his sense of frustration because there's nothing that he can do. That is a high-performing worker who is, if I were him, the story that I'm telling in my head is he's probably walking away from that experience going, what's the point? Why am I doing everything I'm doing if that's going to be the attitude at the front desk? So I won't go into details of how it got resolved because it did get resolved. I didn't just let it go, but we have other questions. So if you want to know how it got resolved, just, DM me or put a comment and I'll be happy to share like the full resolution of that situation. All right, so our next one is this is from Eve. Hey, Eve. Marie, how do we balance growth ambitions with the rising uncertainties? I know you've spoken about this before, but our company has been really concerned from tariffs, trade tensions, geopolitical volatility, and we still have scaling AI responsibilities while trying to fortituding, I don't know what she means by that, our clients and our cost disciplines. Okay. I think she means fortifying, not fortituing, but again. All right. So I would say try these 3 moves. Lead with clarity, even when the path gets foggy. I would say first thing, anchor your team with scenario-based thinking. Uncertainty is here to stay. I mean, that's just the reality. And rather than aim for a single polished plan, build flexible frameworks with your team. Use scenarios. That's really what we do when we are teaching people how to think critically and solve problems. We help them through scenarios. That's how we build games. And the reason why is that you can kind of show blind spots early. You can build decision-making agility within your culture if you allow people to have opportunity to play, so shall we say, with situations that will really come up in life, right? Or even for them to bring situations that are really happening to them in almost a forum of how do I solve this as a group, as opposed to just solving the problem for them or sweeping it under the rug. The more you build that critical thinking muscle, the better it is for the team. Eve. The next thing I would do really when you talk about AI is treat AI like it's your co-pilot and not a shortcut. The goal isn't to scale AI, it's to scale thinking, and that includes how your people collaborate with AI tools. So you really want to focus the team on how they can use AI. So I would encourage that you have them ask the following 2 big questions, which is, what problems are we solving with AI, right? Because it's not just about like, oh, I'm going to use AI. It's the big thing to use. It's, what's the purpose behind our use of AI? What are we really solving when we use AI? And how do we make sure we still value human judgment, empathy, and the nuances of being human while we're using AI? So it's not just depending on AI to solve our problems, but really having AI give us options, and we as the humans are the final judgment of that. When we see teams innovating fast and they are on par with the tech, what we're seeing is that they're using critical thinking. And so a lot of the work that we do, as you know, if you follow me, is around critical thinking, and games help with that. That's really why we do it. The last thing is invest in skills that will save you money. A lot of times we overinvest, and it's not poorly intended. It really is about we're trying to help, but we invest in like, oh, we have poor communication. Oh, we have unclear ownership. Oh, we need to rework. So we're going to focus on that. You have critical skills within your business that you need to invest in. And sometimes we think, well, communication. There's tons of classes out there. There's online stuff that people can do. I don't really need to invest the company's money in this. You are bleeding money when you are not upskilling your people. Psychological safety. You have to invest in that. You have to build systems within your organization that create that safety for people. Because if people don't speak up when things are off, they will continue to go off the rails. And that's when you're going to start losing money. We think, oh, it's not a big deal because we're making money. But you will discover most of your bleeds when it comes to losing income is around the fact that people are afraid to truly speak up because they're afraid of the repercussions of that. And that is a lack of psychological safety. And I know we talk about that all the time, but it's a key factor. The other is facilitation skills are critical in this day and age. 20 years ago, 10 years ago, or even 5 years ago, facilitation wasn't a critical skill. It is now. Friction-free collaboration is the only way your business is going to move forward. And the ability to facilitate meetings, the ability to facilitate teams is really critical to your success. And that's money well spent. And last but not least at all, is decision-making. And it's decision-making under constraints. It's not just making decisions, because the truth is, individually, we're all great at making decisions. As a group, however, we're not great at making decisions. And add constraints to that, we're really bad at making decisions. So the pro tip here is, remember, these skills, when we talk about them, they're not soft skills. And I'm really tired of people saying soft skills. They're not soft skills. They are profit protection strategies. They are critical skills. These skills will protect your profits as a business owner. They will protect your profit building strategies. And you can teach them in a fun way, in a fast way, and in a sticky way. So I hope that's helpful. And again, if you want more tips on how to build those skills, if you want to have a conversation around that, reach out. And again, if you're interested in finding out the end of that story around the customer service, give me a buzz. And I want to say, have a beautiful Monday. See you next Monday. Same